I'm very glad to be here today. Um, April, as you said, so I'm the founder and CTO of Mount. And a short brief about us, we're on a mission to let you rent anything from anyone at any time. Like you said, we are a pre-seed company and we have a handful of rockstar employees, but that's pretty much it. We have a team of 6 right now, and we're growing at breakneck speed. But we're a founding team of 2. So right now we've got 4 employees, full-time, a couple part-time, but let's run the clock back to September 21. September 2021, we were yet to raise most of our capital. We had pivoted more than a couple of times. We'd pivoted at least 5 times to get to the business model that we finally settled on. We'd worked with part-time employees based internationally. We'd worked with asynchronous teams. But what we were missing here was the personal touch of employees being on our team. I think the biggest driver for this for us was our business was accelerating. I mean, we'd pivoted 5 times. So coming into this, we were probably a couple pivots away from completely switching up the technology yet again. And as a CTO, of course, this was a very stressful time for me. But with product refinements occurring daily, it was very hard for us to work with asynchronous teams and international employees, especially because the way I like to run teams, I want the entire team, especially as long as we can, I want the entire team to be involved in decision making, whether it be a pivot, whether it be recalculating our trajectory for the upcoming year. And this was very hard. So the first step to bringing people on full time was figuring out how to hire effectively. I've seen a ton of teams just bring on people for the sake of bringing on people, and people believing that headcount is just going to drive growth. But as we've seen time and again, with companies that have been in the news in the not so recent past, hiring blindly is not the solution. So I began having conversations with a bunch of hiring managers, fellow founders, and some potential candidates, all via LinkedIn, personal connections. But all of what I heard, I was able to condense to 3 C's. Now, what are these 3 C's? Some of them I mentioned earlier, but the biggest one is communication. When I was thinking about what to speak today, I was considering giving communication all the 3 C's, because communication is very important. A lot of engineering and a lot of technology development is communication. A lot of it comes down to the what's and the how's. What are we building? How are we building it? How do we integrate with this large partner that we have? How does the code work? And I mean, I can tell you for a fact, we spend at least 5 hours a week spending time communicating, aligning the team on the business. Now, without a team that communicates well, this 5 hours can easily stretch to 7, maybe 10 hours. And maybe at some point it starts impacting delivery, because you spend so much time discussing and planning that you never get to implementation. So I'll spare you the details in our code reviews and our demo days, but our goal at Mount is to build a team of engineers that are eager to hear and provide feedback. And great communication is a very valuable characteristic of being a great engineer. And we look for that in candidates. We look for that, we develop it, and we try and promote it among our current employees. The way we do this is we structure our interviews in a format where we test their communication skills by having them prepare and present a small a small presentation on a programming challenge. So instead of sending people off to lead code or HackerRank or the various other employee programming challenges there are out in the market, we actually design our very own small programming challenge, which is intended to be completed in a week. It's a sort of a project style and leaves it open to the candidate to interpret and have their own take on how they want a solution, how they want to present a solution. At the end of the 7 days, we have them present their solution to us. And a big part of this, because this entire project is architected and implemented by them, the biggest part of this is ensuring that they can communicate what they built, how they built it, and why they made certain design decisions to us. And this pretty much is the first step of our technical interview. That's how we look for communication. Next, we've got commitment. Now, like Andre mentioned earlier, commitment is key. This is the most important characteristic for a hyper-performant and agile team. As CTOs at startups, we all live by the fail fast culture, or at least we like to think we do. We want to keep making progress, whether it's successful or not, as long as we can learn from the mistakes we make and keep improving and keep developing. I believe this creates great learning experiences, but at the same time, it can be demoralizing because you spend a week building something, turns out it doesn't work, and you're back to the drawing board. So realistically, you want a team that's committed to the goal, that's committed to the end goal of the business, and is able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. These are the kind of people that stick around, that stay with you through the process, and create that core team that you want alongside you. Speaking of the core team, the last C rather, is culture. So when you have a team as small as we had, it's very, very important to find the right culture fit. I'm a strong believer that the culture of any startup comes from the founders and then the early and core employees. So it was very important for us to find the right people and build a friendly and open culture. One that we try to embody, but also enables collaboration, enables the employees developing themselves through interactions with other employees, through interactions with their seniors, with their peers. But the biggest issue with defining this company culture is that once it's set, it's set. You sort of have to live with it, whether it's good or bad. It's kind of like a habit. It's very, very hard to change. So in my experience as a project manager and a product manager, I've seen tons of teams come in, try to work on something. I've seen teams which have great dynamics. I've seen teams which have not so great dynamics. And the biggest difference that I see between teams that have great dynamics and teams that don't are how well the team members gel together. While this is not something that I've been able to control in my past role, in my current role, I try and ensure that any candidates who we're bringing on to the team work really well with the current team. Now, that isn't to say that we build an echo chamber. We do need differing opinions. We definitely need people who aren't just yes men. And there's a fine line. This, unfortunately, only comes with experience. You can interview 10 candidates, and maybe at the end of the 10th one, you'll figure out, okay, 5 of them were yes men or women. And what I really need is somebody who can call me out when I make mistakes, who isn't afraid to speak up. This is very important. Now, this comes back to communication, but as somebody mentioned in the chat, it is very, very hard to find technical specialists with excellent communication skills. And I completely agree. But as CTOs and as founders, our goal is to find these diamonds in the rough. You have to find these people who are great communicators, who are excited to take on something and learn, but you need to bring them out. You need to show them that they can learn. That's something that we try to do. Our culture, or at Mount, we start hiring early. We hire people right as they come out of college and train them. We train them on our technologies. We train them on how to become a better engineer, and we bring them to a point where they are contributing heavily to our product. So I can go back and talk about our story hiring. So we figured out what we wanted. We had the 3 C's. We knew what we wanted to look for in our candidates, but now it was time to go out and hire. I vividly remember the first time we hired. I spent 1 week in back-to-back meetings with potential hires. I remember my calendar, I had 15-minute meetings back-to-back for 5 entire days. I got nothing done that week, but I think that was the most important part of the process. As a founder, as a CTO, especially when your company is 4 people strong, you want to go in and look at candidates from start to finish. You want to evaluate them on team fit. You want to evaluate them on their technical fit. Of course, the 3 C's, and then eventually bring them in to meet the entire team. I like to think that our comprehensive and thorough vetting process and fit checking ensured that when we gave Brett and Travis their offers, we were lucky enough to get them both. Now, Brett and Travis, they are the core engineers who are helping build Mount alongside me. And I like to think that I'm very, very lucky to have them both on our team, because where we were in September, I did not imagine in my wildest dreams that in May, early June, we'd be shipping out a product. But something I learned through the hiring process, especially after I'd screened a couple of candidates, was that you might have seen interviews with larger companies. There, the company culture is established. The candidates have people to speak to try and understand what the company culture is, what the goal of the company is, what the company is trying to do. But as startups, you don't have that many employees out there. You don't have that much info about your company. So you need to treat meetings with potential employees a bit like an investor intro meeting. It's the easiest way to gauge their commitment. If you describe your vision to them and you see their eyes light up when you're talking to them about your business, you know you have the right person. Especially when you're building your core team, you want believers. Again, you don't want them to be drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak, but you definitely want them to be dedicated to your cause, to be able to see why you're building what you're building. These are the people who will stick with you till the end. And these are the people you want to hire. The other thing that I learned was, as founders, we understand private equity. We understand what equity means at a privately held company. But not everyone does. Not everyone understands that 1% of the company is a huge amount, especially because that 1% sort of stays with you as the company grows. Now, of course, it's a different story if the company doesn't, but if the candidate believes in your company, they believe it will grow. And it is very, very important to explain to them what their percentage or their share in the company means to them. As a pre-seed company, we were definitely unable to match the market rate that a lot of the other companies were offering to candidates. The way we tried to make up for this is we offered our employees a great compensation package with both cash and equity components, which I like to think brought the offer up to market rate. But what we realized was towards the end of the interview cycle, it was very important to become upfront with the candidates about compensation. A lot of them are taking bets on their life by working for us, which means they're taking bets on us. So you want your employees to trust you. And the biggest part about the biggest part and the most important part of this is when your employees trust you, they understand that you're not there to get them. You're instead there to support them and help you grow. And you want to establish that from the very beginning. And that's what we tried to do. So let's say you're at this stage, you've hired some people, and you think to yourself, phew, I'm done. I just finished hiring. It's time to take a break. But no, you're not. You're never done. As a CTO, you're leading product dev. You're the project manager. You are also involved in hiring and aligning the team with the business. So it's time to step into your other pair of shoes. As a team lead, you want to create an environment that fosters communication and collaboration. The way we did it at Mount was every day we have people post their updates for the day in Slack. We follow that up with a team stand-up. And the goal of the stand-up is, we call it a stand-up, but really it's a little more than it. At this point, everybody's had time to take a look at everybody else's updates. We then meet, discuss, and provide feedback to each other because we've had time to review the work that everybody has done. Every Friday, we set up demo days for one team member to proudly present their win of the week for everybody to see. Now, I think within engineering teams, this is very important. It's important to show everybody what everybody's up to. I think it helps align everyone and understand that, let's say we're about to block somebody because we aren't working on a feature that we were supposed to be working on. When we see that our peer, our colleague, is getting to the point where they can't make further progress, we might switch gears and start making progress in the correct direction. I think the daily updates and the daily stand-ups definitely help with alignment, and the demo days definitely boost morale. Another big part of technology teams, and something that I've noticed, is sometimes the tech does not get enough visibility. Especially, like Andre mentioned, the tech is something that runs the business. The business runs to help the customers, the tech runs to help the business. Now, the business often doesn't care how the magic works behind the curtain. But I like to think that it's very important for the business to know how these things work, because one, that will help them have an appreciation for what we do as technologists, and at the same time, help them understand why changes take time. So in our all hands meetings, we ensure to have the tech updates, we ensure that tech updates have team-wide visibility, which lends credibility to the engineers and at the same time gives the team a peek behind the curtain that happens to run the show just like they want it to. So with that, I realized that I've spent a ton of time talking about a hiring process, but I haven't really told you what we do. And I think I think that'll help you understand why we've had luck hiring on Story. So Mount is a consumer to consumer marketplace that lets you rent anything from anyone at any time. Now, I mentioned this, but most of you might be thinking this is pretty broad. So we're currently focused on travel, and we're making it possible for short-term rental hosts to diversify their revenue and create a better guest experience while setting up a passive income stream. We're trying to create unexpected exploration, and we're trying to make it possible, empowering hosts, travelers, and locals equally, and opening up the shared economy. Imagine a world where you could take off on a trip and pack just a backpack. Well, maybe a toothbrush in your backpack, but maybe just some clothes and a toothbrush. We think that no one should be tied down to a place, much less an office, and we're all about the nomadic life. So we're building a platform for exactly this. We want to create empowering travel experiences anywhere in the world. Right now, I think all of our employees truly believe in our vision and embody it. We have team members who we hired within the US who have now moved to Barcelona, who have moved to temporarily to London and a lot of other places in the world. But it's really important to see that your team's vision and your culture actually translate to something that the team embodies and takes with them. And that's something we try to do.